The mind-boggling quantum discoveries of recent decades invite us to question what we mean by reality. In the Newtonian worldview that has dominated science for the previous centuries, the material universe exists whether we are aware of it or not. A tree falling in a forest always makes a sound whether anyone hears it or not. But from a quantum perspective, things are real only when they are observed, measured, analyzed. The reality of a phenomenon is determined by our consciousness of it. So the tree falling only makes a sound if someone hears it. Obviously, this is more than a discrepancy between worldviews. These are two different worlds. Which view is valid? As with many dualities, both are. There is, beyond a doubt, a pre-existing objective reality that does indeed follow definable laws set in motion at the Big Bang. To deny the actuality of our material circumstances would be the ultimate folly. And yet, it's also evident that the everyday experience we call reality is subjective. Life and literature are full of examples of the same event reported by individuals in completely different ways. Sometimes the reality experienced by one person can be the complete opposite of another's. Evidently, these contradictions can't be resolved by taking sides. What is clear, however, is that the reality we experience may not be what we believe it is. We live in a universe that is both and neither Newtonian or quantum. In the end, it doesn't really matter that we can't resolve this conundrum, because the important existential question isn't about the abstraction we call reality out there, but about the one that we're actually living, the ongoing stream of thoughts and feelings, sensations, and perceptions that make up our own moment-by-moment experiences. The individual's consciousness plays a central role in that reality, being the living interface through which the experiencer realizes that which is experienced. That interplay of subject and object within a particular context is our in-the-moment experiencing, the reality we are living. So we could say reality is relational, arising from the way we respond in all our interactions, conversations, relationships, be they external or internal. This understanding can change our lives in truly significant ways. For example, we often believe that our judgments about someone or something are actually its intrinsic properties. If I say, she's such a difficult person, I'm suggesting that everyone would agree that she's hard to get along with. But I'm in no position to know her from the perspective of everyone else in her world. I only really know my own experience of her. My reality would be more accurately and helpfully described as, I have found her to be difficult. This phrase, my reality, is significant. While there's obviously an encompassing reality out there, the only one that is actually real to me is created through my relationships. Calling this my reality underscores personal responsibility for whatever is going on. Of course, there are always things not of our choosing and not of our doing making up our reality. But our experienced reality, whatever the circumstances may be, is relational, generated by the way we respond to those situations. This means that whatever is happening at any given moment is largely determined by one's relational skill or lack thereof. Fulfillment and freedom in any aspect of life, then, isn't about getting what you wish for, but about responsiveness, acceptance, sincerity, open listening, good humor, non-attachment, and so on. The continual refinement of these abilities becomes the way to fulfillment, and more significantly, to an everyday reality truly worth living. The guiding light of this practice is adab. The Arabic word adab generally refers to etiquette, gentility, and thoughtfulness in relation to others. But among Sufis, a deeper view is valued, seeing how easily this practice can become superficial, like practicing good manners in order to ingratiate ourselves. Their practice of adab is a form of mystic awareness in action. A Sufi teacher I know quotes Rumi's line, "This being human is a guest house. Every morning someone new arrives," as a way of reminding us that this practice begins with our subpersonalities, the many selves that dwell within us. When I asked her what that meant in practical terms, she said, "I treat all my selves as my children, needing love, security, wanting to belong, to be heard and appreciated. Even my trauma-stunted inner voices, negative thinkers and complainers, deserve respect and attention so they can make their way to healing." This unconditional self-acceptance becomes the foundation for the practice of adab with others. Unless we wholeheartedly accept who we are, how could we ever openly welcome others? This fulsome embrace of our most intimate loved ones, our circles of friends, neighbors, and so on, can be extraordinarily transformative. Like an alchemical elixir, the adab of interpersonal acceptance can distill levels of understanding that might not otherwise be available. The more accepting we can be, the more we will see positive influences and surprising synchronicities manifesting in the relationship, facilitating healing, providing guidance, and deepening affection. Transformative interpersonal adab is supported by the characteristics we mentioned a moment ago: sincerity, open listening, and so on. But there's something more transcendent needed, something beyond the bilateral awareness of self and other. Adab arises from a global awareness, an expansive lucidity that encompasses not just the self and the other, but also the living, resonant interspace in which the relationship is happening. For simplicity, let's call this field of relatedness the venue, with the understanding that this space is not an inert emptiness, but a living presence. The venue is, after all, the invisible, everywhere, all the time akasha, in which we live and move and have our being. As the ground of experience, it also has a stake in the nature and outcomes of the interactions it hosts. The practice of adab, then, develops from this triadic awareness: the self, the other, and the venue. Arising from the sourceless source of everything and partaking of the consciousness of both the self and the other, the venue is rich with information. It may be that the venue is the only member of this triad that can dispassionately answer key relational questions, such as, what's the highest good this relationship can manifest? How do we unlock those potentials? How do we stay steady in those directions. Let's say a mother quarreling with her preteen daughter about body piercing is reacting from fear. Fear that her daughter is being influenced by the wrong crowd. Fear that her behavior will soon be beyond a mom's control. In other words, the mother's awareness in this relational encounter is contracted around her own anxiety. Realizing this, she takes a deep breath, recenters, and expands her awareness to include her daughter and the venue. Then the mom hears that her daughter's "you're not the boss of me" really means "I have to find my wings, Mama." And she hears the venue saying, "What's really important here is your trust in one another. Use this incident to deepen that trust by allowing space." On one level, this is just sensible parenting. But this openness, this attunement to the highest good and happiness for all, can be surprisingly transformative, sometimes bordering on miraculous. So, the practice of Adab is not just amiability and courtesy. It's a form of mystic awareness through which we can transform our daily reality. It's the lucid presence that can animate every interaction, illuminate every exchange, elevate even the simplest conversation. Adab is an alchemical grace flowing through our lives and the lives around us, nurturing the fulfillment and well-being of the whole, created from the self, the other, and the venue. Someone asked the Sufi teacher I mentioned, "Is the venue just another term for God?" She answered, "Only if it is."